Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Touch of Sin, a Chinese dramatic thriller anthology film from 2013 that was directed by Zhangke Jia. Now, I've reviewed a handful of this director's films previously on this channel. I reviewed The Platform, The World, and Ash is the Purest White, all good films. Jia is one of the most critically acclaimed directors from China today, and A Touch of Sin is a little bit different from his prior films because it has a little bit more of a violent edge to it. And it's also maybe a little bit more mainstream in its genre elements. So it basically weaves together four stories of people living in different Chinese provinces. So the first story is about a man, played by Wu Jiang, who I recently mentioned in my review of Wrath of Silence. Very good actor. And this man is the de facto representative of the workers at a privatized coal mine. And he gets pretty mad because he sees his village. A lot of people in this village are living in poverty while the local officials are growing rich off of the mining that's going on there. And he confronts them and he basically threatens them like, hey, I'm going to turn you guys into the Central Committee in Beijing. And conflict rolls from there. This is, fairly simplistic, even a little bit repetitive short film here, but it's certainly entertaining and somewhat cathartic in how it shows corruption getting its just desserts. And as a viewer, you can feel, a sense of frustration, that the main character is feeling. You can definitely empathize with him, sympathize with him. So when the violence erupts later on in the short story, it's surprisingly welcome and even therapeutic to a degree. So I did like this. This is a good story. The second story is about a man who travels like on motorbike across some rural lands, and after being threatened by some thugs, he returns to Chongqing for the Chinese New Year celebrations. But there's something weird about this guy. He seems to not be worried about money too much, and you see this theme come up multiple times in this short film. There's sometimes where somebody will, he'll get a little bit of a windfall of cash from some event, and he'll be like, no, that's all right, I don't give it to my mother or something, or he tries to give some contributions to his family, and they're kind of looking at him like, where's this guy getting this money from? And the story goes from there. Now, you may recognize the lead actor in this. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. He was in action films recently, like Kung Fu Killer, Monk Comes Down the Mountain, and the Detective Chinatown films. Now, this short story is obviously not an action segment. It's a dramatic segment, okay? But I found it interesting enough because our main character is a little bit mysterious. The fact how he handles money, how he reacts to money is definitely big in this. And everyone finds that odd. And you find out later on what's going on. It's pretty good short film. The third story is about a woman played by Tao Zhao, who has appeared in most of Jia's other films. And this woman meets her lover, who is a married man, and she gives him an ultimatum. She's like, listen, break up with your wife within 6 months or our relationship's done. And things move on from there. So I cut that synopsis short because I like this one because it's a little bit unpredictable. I don't think anyone would necessarily expect the final conflict based on how it begins. And I kind of like that about this. Lead actress is very talented, which helps. Again, similar to the first film in this anthology, when the violence erupts, it's kind of welcome and therapeutic to a degree. And I think that's probably what this director was going for. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it seemed to be the case. Jia does a good job of kind of getting the viewer to at least sympathize with the main character in each of these segments, which is kind of an important thing. So even if they do something bad, you can kind of understand where they're coming from, right? The fourth and final short story is about a Hunan native who is working at a textile factory. It's a younger guy. He accidentally causes a workplace injury because he's putzing around on his phone at work. All you people out there, get off your cell phones. Don't be on your cell phones all the time, especially when you're driving or operating machinery, for goodness sakes. So, so he needs to basically work off the wages of the employee that he basically caused to get injured. So he flees, he goes out of town, and he works at a hostess club, all right, which is basically, it's almost like an escort service or a brothel, really. and he strikes up a friendship with one of the girls there. Now, unlike the other segments in this anthology, this one has kind of a dose of low-key humor in it, which, it was a nice change-up. It wasn't quite as dour at the beginning as a lot of the other short films, but of course it gets more serious as it progresses. Mostly avoids any acts of violence, which is also a bit different from the prior installments, but the ending still has an impact. I like this one too. So I liked all 4 short films, but I think my favorite one might be the first one and maybe the third one, if I had to pick 2 out of 4. Now, the first time I saw A Touch of Sin, I thought the social commentary was a little bit on the nose. All right, so for example, there's a scene where a customer, who's like a local official, basically takes a wad of cash and smacks a woman in the face like 30 times with it over and over and over again, and even tells her why he's doing it. And the first time I saw the film, I was like, this director's kind of being pretty heavy-handed in his themes in this. What I did not know at the time, that I do know now, is that all 4 of the short films in this anthology are based off of real-life events. So that actually did happen in real life. It's not just the director going overboard, on his message. It apparently, allegedly, actually happened. So just understand that before going into it, too, is that each of these short films is based on a real-life event. So that's good stuff. All these stories have good acting and direction, and while the violence is more pronounced than Jia's prior films, there's really nothing gratuitous about the violence in this film. You can feel it. It gets a little intense at times, but it's not something a normal viewer will have trouble sitting through. Again, it's another Chinese dramatic thriller that I'm recommending. A Touch of Sin might be a good one to start with. If you want to get into this director and you like dramatic thrillers, check this one out. If you want to get into this director and you want something maybe a little bit more, I guess, traditionally dramatic, or maybe something a little odd, you could go for something like The World, or even Platform. Ashes Purest White is good too. So Jia, again, check this guy out if you haven't already. A Touch of Sin is available on multiple streaming sites as well as physical media. And as always, I will see you next time.